I was just thinking that Ukraine hasn't hit an oil refinery or oil depot in a few days. And then they corrected that in a big way. Ukraine had a really good day. It is Wednesday, October 29th, 2025. My name is Darren Gerdes. I'm just a professor trying to provide context in the war in Ukraine. Please consider subscribing if you want to keep up to date. Okay, so let's get started. This is an image of all the Ukrainian drones going out to strike Russia last night. There was more than 100 last night. 100 drone overnight attack on Russia regions on October 29th targets strategic industrial sites producing materials for Russia's military logistics. A major petrochemical factory in southern Russia is under drone attack. The Stravelin plant is one of Russia's key producers of polyethylene, polypropylene, benzene, and other oil-based products. Drone strike hit the Stravelin chemical plant, one of Russia's largest chemical producers. The facility is part of Lukoil and it makes key materials used in civilian and military industries. Nearby power substation was also hit. So that's attack number one and two if you count the substation. Drone strikes hit two oil depots in occupied Crimea. That's 3 and 4. Fires erupted at an oil facility in Simferopol and Khvartsky. Both facilities supply fuel to Russian occupation forces, with military tankers spotted moving in and out of Simferopol depot in just a day before the strike. Khvartsky depot, which belongs to ATAN, Crimea's largest gas station network, was already attacked on October 17th. It's attacked again. And again, it usually takes multiple strikes to knock something completely out like Fedosia. Okay, here's more about Simferopol intensifying spreading, adding additional fuel tanks. The facility is one of the key supply points providing fuel for Russian occupation forces, again, in Crimea. Now, there is also a small oil refinery, NS Oil, in Ulyanovsk region with annual capacity of just 0.6 million tons of oil, but another 0.6 million tons of oil is going to be offline, it looks like. So that would be attack number 5. New video shows the moment of the strike at the refinery at Novopasky in Ulyanovsk Oblast in Russia. And I had to look up where that was. And then I found a map showing where it was, just below Kazan. The Ukrainian attack drones continue their deep raid into Russia tonight, hitting the Mariinsky oil refinery in Mari El Republic, over 1,000 kilometers behind the front lines. Refineries are reportedly ablaze. I'd lost track. Is that 5 or 6? What is that? And that's out here before you can get to Yekaterinburg, which is where all the drones are assembled that strike Ukraine. Okay. Overnight, an explosion of fire was reported at the Novobryanska 750 kilovolt substation in Bryansk region. So that's 6 or 7. Right. So it was a busy night for oil and chemical industries with all these places being hit. And that's not including the substations and things along those lines. So it was a big night. That's also not including what you're about to see here with last night. SBU strike drones hit a Russian Panzer S-2 air defense system and 2 radar stations in occupied Crimea. The estimated cost of the Panzer S-2 SAM system is around $20 million US. So, okay, more good hits. And so when I say that Ukraine had a good night, Ukraine had a good night. Now, what were the Russians doing to the Ukrainians? Ukrainian air defense forces shot down or jammed 93 Russian drones overnight out of 126 launched. It's not a great ratio, including around 80 Shaheds. Yeah, so drones hit 10 locations and they did some damage. At least 30,000 people in Odessa were left without electricity overnight. Again, Russia's plan is to continue to go after electrical and thermal generation and things along those lines. Residential buildings and civilian infrastructure in Chernihiv and Kharkiv were hit. Russian army also shelled a children's hospital in Kherson, the city's regional military administration reported. The attack significantly damaged the building. 4 people were injured, a 9-year-old girl and 3 other medical workers. Child suffered mind blast trauma and shrapnel wound to her leg. Medical workers suffered blast injuries and wounds of various severity. One of them is in serious condition. They're shelling a children's hospital, and there's no outrage because they do this so often. It's like, oh yeah, it's just another children's hospital. It's crazy. Okay, let's look at the battlefield and see what's going on there. 1150 Russians off the battlefield. So that number is higher than the average. The average is about 1,000, maybe 975, something along those lines. 4 tanks, 3 armored fighting vehicles, 20 artillery systems, 79 vehicles and fuel tanks. These numbers tend to be connected. It seems like when the number of casualties rises, and this is just my observation, I could be wrong, tell me what you think about this in the comments. When the number of casualty rises, the number of vehicles and fuel tanks drops. When the number of casualties is lower, when this is like eight something, like the number of casualties is way low. The number here rises astronomically of vehicles and fuel tanks because those FPV drones are out hunting those instead of fighting off, attacks. Okay. In the Pokrovsk direction, Russian invaders conducted 45 assaults. Okay, 45 assaults with 1150. That seems a little bit low, but okay. Pokrovsk, though, is the epicenter of the battlefield. Russian forces recently advanced in southeastern Mirnograd, east of Pokrovsk. This is like its twin city. But these advances are unlikely to cause immediate collapse of the Ukrainian pocket in the Pokrovsk direction, says the Institute for the Study of War. Russian tactics in Pokrovsk have entrapped civilians within the city, intensifying the risk of indiscriminate civilian harm. Ukrainian forces still hold Pokrovsk despite an 8-1 troop disadvantage after a year of fighting. Russia committed overwhelming resources to capture the city for negotiation leverage, but it achieved none of its objectives. I think this line here, this is from the Euromaidan Press. I think this line here is exactly what's going on. Russia committed overwhelming resources to capture the city for negotiations leverage. See how we're taking the battlefield. See how we're doing what we're doing. It's inevitable. We are going to prevail. No sense in even supporting Ukraine. Okay, 7th Army Corps is about the situation in Pokrovsk. Russia has deployed 11,000 troops in its attempt to encircle the Pokrovsk agglomeration, with infiltration troops pushing northwest and north of the city. In total, about 27,000 personnel, 100 tanks, 260 armored vehicles, and 160 artillery systems are concentrated in that area. Now, so the numbers here would make me nervous, except like this 100 tanks and 260 armored vehicles. It sounds like it's overwhelming, but you really can't do anything with these tanks and armored vehicles in the same way that you could have before FPV drone warfare. So the battlefield has shifted pretty radically, where the tank is just not the overwhelming force that it once was on the battlefield. Okay, Russians hung their flag at one of the entrances to Pokrovsk. Fighting inside the city is very fierce. Russians control most of the entrance roads with FPV drones. So while the tanks are not able to be used in the same way as before, and the armored vehicles in the same way as before, they're slipping these small little groups into the city. The FPV drones from the Russians are also preventing the Ukrainians from being able to resupply and that sort of thing. Again, FPV drones are the big story of the war. Short story about a Russian turtle tank in Ukraine. After an FPV strike on a tank, its driver lost control, causing the vehicle to overturn, and then drone operators completely destroyed the vehicle. So there you go. That's just the way it works. Here's drone footage from the Lut Special Police Force Assault Brigade showing the destruction of Konstantinivka, another city that's being wiped off the map by Russia. So again, you're seeing the drone's eye view of just the destruction that Russia brings to Ukraine daily. Okay. Is Putin going to stop? Probably not. Putin will continue the war at any cost until he gets what he wants. This NBC News reported that these are the conclusions of American intelligence, citing informed sources due to heavy losses in the Russian army and growing economic problems. With the economy on the verge of recession in the 4th year of the war, Putin has taken a more aggressive stance than ever before. He now seeks to justify the catastrophic losses, seize more Ukrainian territories, and generally secure Ukraine for Russia. So that's his plan, I think, moving forward. Now, Tomorrow, I think I'll do another one where I'll show you what's going on in the economy, and the signs are getting more and more severe every day. So there's really a horse race between what Putin can take on the ground and what the Ukrainians can destroy economically, and how they can drive the Russian economy into the ground. And that's really where the big tension lines are. Okay, a little shout out to Joe Kane, a graduate student YouTube member. Thank you for your support, and I'll leave you with this. This is where the war is. It all comes down to this kind of game controller for FPV drones. That's where the war is being won or lost right now. Tell me what to think about this, my friends. Thank you for your time, the likes, the shares, and the subscribes. And thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.